Nation.
Summertime upon us, 9 to noon. Joining us now, analyst, Vikings Radio Network, sitting shotgun with PA since 2007. Unbelievable. Joining me now, Pete Bercich, at Pete Bercich via X. How you doing this morning, Pete?
I am doing well, Nordo, and rumor has it PA has a big interview today, and I'm going to leave it at that.
he does indeed.
Yes, so let's just leave it at that.
Thank you for giving me time, and I'm just going to kick it off with this because there's some football to get into, but that's all kind of surrounding this potential. I refer to it. You might be a budding YouTube star, Pete, and via YouTube at Pete Bercich 56. You've started a YouTube channel. Now, we love hearing you on game days analyzing Vikings football. Throughout the week, you've gotten the opportunity here in Eagan to analyze, do some coaches film bits with Kevin O'Connell. Your work via Vikings.com is elite and awesome and fun to watch. But now via YouTube, this might be another touch point for listeners and fans of the Purple to hear your insight on what they're seeing with the team. So what's up with the YouTube thing?
I've been doing film room with the VEN for a long time, but they obviously have limited resources and limited time, so they can only do so much. And there's just a lot more that I want to discuss and cover, and then share with the fans. So I figured out a way to do that in my own little studio, my own way, and learned all about video editing and all that, all the other stuff that you have to do to get that done. So it's just going to be a way to cover some of the things that I want to do. Maybe, and it could be whether it be situations or football or anything, or people can log on and ask questions and say, hey, what is this all about? What does this mean? And what do you think of so and so? Maybe even do some older film. I mean, long term, and I've spoken with the NFL about this, is getting the coaches film from, let's just say, the 98 NFC Championship, or Adrian Peterson's first game, or relive 2009, as painful as it was, and just do some different things in that regard. So it's a lot of fun to talk about football. It's all about the game. If you want to know more about the game and how it works, that's why I'm right now doing all the sacks that the Vikings had last year, all 49 of them, and really breaking it down as to what this Flores defense is doing. I need to know it as I'm sitting in the booth, because I need to know what I'm looking at on the field. And, Flores' defense is unique, and he does a lot of things differently. But if you spend some time watching it, you start to figure it out a little bit. And it's such a mixture of player versatility and, just being aggressive, and just very good technique by guys, in how all that works together and what to expect out of this team this year. So I'm really enjoying it, and I hope the fans do too when they get a chance to watch it.
And I believe it's called The Eye in the Sky, and they can also search YouTube via Pete Bercich 56, and they will find your videos. Is that an easy process, by the way? Because now, because everything's rights-based, right? Somebody owns the content, in this particular case, the video. Is it a massive clipping penalty to be like, hey, I'd like to use some coaches film for this YouTube channel? Like, is the NFL, I mean, I don't know what that process is like. We have our FTP sites, and I have my own access to NFL licensed content since we're home of the Vikings. But if I ever had to email or reach out to somebody for something specific, I feel like that would be a rat's nest I wouldn't want to participate in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. And being a former player, they have opportunities for you to be able to use licensed content in that way.
Oh, sweet.
So in that regard, it's been fantastic. And and this is another thing that I've learned along the way. Our copyright laws are just so they're so different. They're different in America than they are in other parts of the world. And, basically it's about whether or not you are adding content. Like, are the people watching this copyrighted material to get insight from you, or are they watching what's on the film? Meaning, if you're just ripping something and putting it up is one thing. It's think of a movie critic, right? The movie critics can use clips from a movie without copyright issues, because people are watching not because of the movie, but to hear what you have to say. So it's a bit of a gray area, but the NFL has deep pockets. So if they decided to sit on you, or if you got too big, they could easily shut it down if you're just throwing up plays and that kind of thing and not adding anything to it. So it's definitely the waters are definitely muddy. But I reached out in the beginning to discuss with them what I was planning to do, and they have some YouTube partnership programs and things like that. So my goal is to have something I can put out weekly, kind of a insight into the opponent and maybe some highlights from games. And I got to figure out what I can do during the week once the season starts, for sure.
Yeah,
because it takes time. All the production, everything else. It is a lot of work, but reps make you better, and we'll see how this goes.
Well, the cool thing is because it is difficult to get going, but once you get that rhythm, Pete, I mean, then, because that platform, right? The ability to do it on a weekly basis. Once you get that formula and that rhythm down, man, you're going to be flying these things out. I mean, as long as I've known you, I didn't see you immediately as a high-end Instagram, social media, and now YouTube superstar influencer. But I'm happy that I get the opportunity to know you. I think this is going to be sweet.
Yeah, I'm not. Let's just put it that way. I'm not. The whole thing is, you do all this stuff, and then you watch all the videos and recommendations, and they say you got to do YouTube Shorts, but then it's filmed in a different aspect ratio and blah blah blah. It's like, oh my god, the whole thing. It's a rabbit hole, and that's probably half the problem. Is there's so many things to get hung up on along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be the technology that you're using, what kind of camera, the microphone, the processing. At least, thank goodness, with all my radio, I have a pretty good idea, and the music and guitars and all that. I have a really good idea of the sound side of it. So at least part of that is not all alien to me. But yeah, it's like I said, it's cathartic. Let's put it that way, to be able to sit down and just talk, and then find a way to draw on the screen as you're talking, which is you don't see a whole lot of on YouTube. So I figured out a way, with different programs to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's trying to give people listening like you're sitting in the coach's room. Except I don't. It would be fun to do a couple as if I really was coaching. But then the language would get too colorful and would go from there.
Well,
but it'd be fun though.
You're learning the medium that is YouTube, but as I would say, ball. Pete knows ball. So let's maybe kind of dig into some of the work you've already done. You analyze this team on a weekly basis during the season, but just take like the anatomy of a sack. We've been talking this week the anatomy of a champion in the Florida Panthers. We're watching the NBA Finals, so we can kind of dig down from a 10,000-foot view. But specifically, as you were putting work into some of the content you've already produced at Pete Bercich 56 via YouTube, what goes into some of the greatness of Flores' defense, specifically with creating pressure up front?
I think we've seen kind of the two extremes, one of which is Zimmer's defense. And what I mean by that is Zimmer's defense is going to look from snap to snap pretty much the same. And this is even Tony Dungy. We would, week after week, we would give pretty much the same looks. But what would change is we'd show a blitz that we've run the last couple of weeks and then do something off of it. Everything was very calculated. It was designed to attack a specific protection, and that means if we got and protections are based on offensive formations. And we would, defensively, you play cover 2 every week. You play, 8 cloud, which is quarter, half, or you play quarters, you play man free, but you would do those every single week. But depending on the offense, the intricacies, the parts of that coverage would change. You wouldn't play the same route the same way 2 weeks in a row, right? That's what would change week to week. That was the game planning. And that was, Zimmer's thing, with coverage. It would just be tweaked week in and week out. Now with Flores, he throws the kitchen sink at you. And if you look and you watch a lot of the pressures, especially early on in the season, zero blitz looks, one guy goes the wrong way. He really stresses everybody across the offensive front. For example, like the Jacksonville game, we tanked Bigsby and Travis Etienne. We just absolutely destroyed them in pass coverage with linebackers. It's almost as if he's just probing for the weak spot and just keeps pressing that button. I mean, by the end of that game, he had offensive linemen making mistakes, doing different things, and then and then later on, they were forced to keep tight ends in to help protect. You remember the sack that Jonathan Grenard had in overtime against the Chicago Bears, right? By that time of the game, they were having so many problems in protection, they just slid the line one way, and they kept the tight end and the running back. I think it was DeAndre Swift and Cole Kmet were basically double-teaming him. And then Caleb Williams kept the play alive because there was nothing on the front side of that play. And they both kind of released at the same time, and Grenard was able to make the sack. They kept 7 guys in for protection, right? So when teams start keeping extra guys in for protection, it limits routes, and it's just a different way. And you realize that the versatility of players is really key to what Flores wants to do, because the corners don't always just drop in the flat and play deep to short and cover 2. I mean, we play a lot of cover 2. We end up in it, but you don't know who's playing what. Sometimes Metellus is playing a corner position. Sometimes he's playing deep half safety. Sometimes he's the middle, the middle hook guy, and the ability to do that with his players is key. And that's not even, we're not even talking about what he can do with like Van Ginkel and some of these other guys, because Van Ginkel is so good when you put him in space or when you have him just drop underneath as a coverage guy. He knows how to get in the throwing lanes. We saw that against the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, and he just has a knack for doing that. And so he went from a very good player in Miami to Pro Bowl or All-Pro caliber here in this system. So the system's unique. He knows exactly what kind of players he needs, and we've gone out and got them. Because, Grenard is probably the best overall pass rusher. He's a guy you could stick anywhere in the league, and he's gonna get to 10 sacks a year. The guys like Cashman and Van Ginkel and Metellus, if you threw them in a different system, I don't think they'd have anywhere near the success that they've had here. And it's because of that. It's finding the right players to fit what you're trying to do, and we've done that. We haven't gone out, outside of Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, and spent just a ton of money on defense, right? Yep. But yet we're able to be so productive. So again, it's always my question. How is that done? How do you do that? How am I not panicking going into the season when Isaiah Rodgers is our number 2 corner right now, right? If Byron Murphy and Theo Jackson's probably going to start at say, you're thinking, wait a minute now, what's going on with this? But you understand where and how he uses these guys, and it's pretty amazing. And I have the utmost respect for what Flores is doing. And again, it goes to me just wanting to know why, how is he doing this? And that's really what I'm sitting down and trying to do. And it takes a long time, and there's a lot to break down when it comes to what we're doing on defense.
Vikings radio analyst Pete Bercich joining me, Nordo. It's 10:21. kind of building off of that, Pete, and the why that goes into, and I mean, the way as in depth as you went with that, that's kind of the fun part of this, digging into it. And you see it at such a higher and such a different level than a rube like me. But let me ask you this. So earlier in the week, PA was in studio and talking about kind of the from the press conference of Brian Flores. And Flores mentioned in a quote that maybe he throws on some tape of Vic Fangio's defense. Maybe he throws on the tape of Spags in Kansas City, Spagnuolo. And there are things that he can learn, Flores can learn, and maybe he tries to implement them, see what sticks. Well, the Vikings, over the last couple of years with Flores, have led the league in blitz rate. Nearly 38% of their plays, they're sending an extra guy. And so the semantics of, is this a true blitz? And how that looks, again, you need to kind of know where Flores' head is at. But they did succeed with that, the second highest pressure rate in the NFL. But sending that extra guy might also lend to some problems on the back end. You could throw all over the Vikings, kind of in those midfield areas, specifically over the middle. And that put the Vikings in precarious spots, late stages of game. We're watching, you mentioned the Bears, like DJ Moore, some of the catches he made on us at times, and kind of making things a little nittier and grittier on the back end of games. So if you're Flores and you're just kind of thinking as you dig into the mind of our defensive coordinator, is he maybe thinking about like how I can get that pressure, how I can get Gernard to the QB, maybe without sending an extra guy as often as I've had to do?
Well, I think we've already kind of seen that, and stay with me on this, Nordo, because 2 seasons ago, we saw more zero blitz than I mean, Cam Bynum made so many tackles that if he misses them, it's touchdowns because there's nobody else behind him. And then you look at last year, there was much less in the way of zero blitzing. We still did it at times, but it wasn't anywhere near as aggressive in that regard. Okay. Things were a little bit different. Now you go into this year, and this is why for the last 2 seasons I've been saying we need interior pass rusher. Okay, so you go into this season and you have Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave underneath. You have to understand that they're replacing Jonathan Bullard and Jerry Tillery, who both came in and did a much better job here than they did anywhere else that they were prior. Jerry Tillery kind of resurrected his career last year with his defense. So you want to get pressure on the quarterback, and if you could send 2 and drop 9, I mean, theoretically, yeah, you would want to do that. But the better you have, the more mismatches you can get up front. I think the less you need to blitz. You know what I'm saying? If your goal is to get pressure on the quarterback, and that's part of the coordinator's job, is you got to pick your spots. Okay, we were very good in scoring defense. We were very good at getting after the quarterback. We did give up a lot of yards through the air, but you're kind of like, okay, so can you live with that? Can you live with a team, with a defense that, yeah, you're going to give up some yardage throughout the game, but in the red zone, you're going to stiffen up and you're still going to be one of the better scoring defenses in the league. Our defense against the run has been fantastic. So those numbers, those categories, are those your priorities, right? Because sometimes that is the case. You're thinking to yourself, it's like when you played the Vikings back in the day with Randy Moss, and you're saying if they run the ball for 250 yards, that's fine. We don't care. We just don't want you to throw the ball at Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and Jake Reed all day long, because Warren Moon or whatever would Brad Johnson, Randall Carter. So in that regard, because you don't have all pros up and down the roster on defense, you kind of have to massage and turn this thing into what exactly it's going to be. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think Flores knows either. I think he has to see the product on the field. He has to see how this group plays together, and the defense will evolve all throughout the season. So in that regard, I think he knows exactly which categories he wants to be at or near the top in. And there are some others that are just, you have different DBs dropping, and like I just said, sometimes you have Metellus playing 10 different positions. These guys are all playing a bunch of different positions. You can't ask them to be, pattern reading in certain coverages. It's hard enough to know one position, let alone three. You see what I mean? So you have to kind of give up some of that and say, all right, we're going to just area drop this thing because of what we're doing up front and different guys in different spots. And so the quarterback doesn't know what is he going to get. If they run the right play at the right time or someone doesn't get there, no one wins one-on-one. And again, that's why I think Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave are so important, because they can win one-on-one in pass rush. Maybe you just sending five and playing six dropping six defenders has been probably the most inefficient defense that we've had off the top of my head. I haven't studied it, but the ability to send five, and the idea behind that is you get one-on-ones all the way. If the offense releases everybody, you're going to have one-on-ones with every offensive lineman. Well, somebody has to win. And there have been times where no one did win, and that means you're short a guy in coverage, and a good quarterback's going to find that. Right? He's going to find that and make a play. Well, now we've got more guys up front that can win. Dallas Turner, you could throw him in the mix too. I mean, we have 6 or 7 guys that should be able to win a one-on-one pretty consistently. That's going to only help this defense, and it's going to help the pass coverage.
That's so good, man. That's why people are going to subscribe to your YouTube channel. I appreciate that, brother. It's at Pete Bercich 56 on YouTube. The Eye in the Sky is the name of it. I'm excited to see more of your content. I'm excited to see you. I saw you popping by at a golf tournament a couple weeks ago when we were at the Meadows. But thanks for giving me some time to catch up with you and chat about the Vikings.
Anytime, Nordo. It's the desert. It's the football desert, right? June and July. Well, right. This is the time you can just pick up on some knowledge, get ready for the season. I'm so excited for this year. I'm fired up. Spend a week in Europe, the whole thing. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. And obviously, with our team, it's all about JJ McCarthy and how well and can he hit the ground running. So very very exciting year. The future of the team is here, and I'm fired up, man.
Have a great weekend, my brother, and we'll talk again soon. All right.
Time.
All right, thanks, man. That's Pete Bercich, radio analyst, Vikings Audio Network, partner in crime with PA on Vikings game days. And he mentioned we are in a bit of a desert right now, but the oasis, we all shall drink from it soon enough, about a month away from Vikings training camp lifting off in Eagan. Thank you to Pete. And again, the YouTube channel, as he starts popping more content up there, Pete Bercich 56. I encourage you to subscribe to it today. The Eye in the Sky. Dave Sinykin, Eye in the Sky, as he is in the zone style. We'll chat about the NBA around 10:45. Some news is next.
Oh.
What up, News to Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. And let's live racing in play, of course, this weekend, but feeling the felt. Loving it all, CanterburyPark.com. Little shorty news. We'll jump back into it during final hour as well. As we wait, we're going to have Dave Sinykin on in about 12, 13 minutes. But where are we headed to in a truncated edition of News to Nord? Blakemore's Bits, however we want to call it.
Let's go here.
Number 1.
This team's back in the win column thanks to these.
And Buxton launches to left field and deep. Back it goes. Second deck and gone. He does it again. He's homered now in all 3 games. Back-to-back leadoff home runs. And the Twins with that buck truck already a sighting here in Cincinnati. It is 1-0.
And I'll say this, if 1 is good, 2 is better.
Now Buxton, can he do it again? You bet. This one carrying. This one is back, and that is gone. Byron Buxton 2 for 4-2, 2 home runs. The Twins go back-to-back. And the helmet that was briefly on Cody's head, it needs a new noggin. 4-2 Twins here in the second.
Yeah, 12-5 is the final. Paddock gets the win. It moves his record to 3-6, but we won't talk about that. The Twins are back to 500 at 37-37. They are still third in the Central. But hey, you snap the schneid, you get off the bend, whatever you want to call it. You're in the win column. 12-5 your winners. The Twins over the Reds.
Yeah, bends and schneids and skids, and it's all negative except for the fact that Byron Buxton has been on a tear. I hit it earlier, 328. From the plate in the 16 games. We could go instead of BC and AD, we could go BC and AC before and after concussion, the timeline with which Buxton has been handling things in 2025. He's slugging in the sixes, 1056 OPS. He's been a delight. 9 extra base hits in that time. I think 5 homers, including the 2 you heard yesterday, thanks to Corey Provis. And you needed to get one. This sixth, and it just kind of frame it up, the negative into the positive. It doesn't feel like help is coming from St. Paul, and the injury situations are persisting, and everyone hates the owners. But in the end, still very much game in the wild card, and now you got Joe Ryan going tonight, the chance to make 1 victory, 2 in a row, and start a streak on the other side of it. From a positive standpoint, just good times abound, if only for a day. Go get that W and beat up on the Brew Crew. That's sweet.
Number 2.
Now, I was going to talk NBA Finals, but Sinykin will have you plenty covered in the next segment with the NBA Finals. Game 7 coming up. Pacers in kind of a rout. It was a good win, convincing win. So I want to go here because I just find this fascinating that we still have these problems. So Shedeur Sanders got pulled over for going 101 miles an hour earlier this week, but now it's come out. This is not the first time since he's been drafted that he's been pulled over for speeding. He got pulled over June 5th for going 91 in a 65. So he's doing this repeatedly, which stinks because you have a guy that has so much, people look at him for his athletic ability. And I don't know if that's what was going on in the team meetings and the player interviews before the draft, that he likes to speed. I don't know what happened, but my rule, there's a PSA for everybody.
Okay.
9, you're fine. 10, you're mine. If you live life by that, you'll never get a speeding ticket, ever. You heard it here first.
So you encourage illegal activity. You just encourage it to a certain extent.
9, you're fine. 10, you're mine.
It's simply by societal norms that 9 is fine, but 10 is not. And certainly 45 or 50 over the speed limit would be
a little too much.
Yeah, I mean, it was a dumb mistake. I saw this. Yeah, it's twice this month for him, and then I kind of thought this was a bit, but it seems like it might be serious. Zach Edey, who plays for the Memphis Grizzlies, I saw some X post yesterday that he was caught going 100, and then they threw he's in a Kia Sorento or something. I don't know if it's a joke, like NBA player driving a Kia. Who knows? They're just like us. But I think Zach Edey was caught going 101 in a 55 recently as well. So we got some high flyers in the mix. Yeah, it's reckless, and it's not a good decision. So hopefully different decisions are made moving forward. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to rag on him. We're not going to cut him, throw him in jail. It was poor decision making. Was he?
He barely got drafted. So.
Was he cutting in and out of traffic? Was there a hairy moment? Was it a wide open road? I don't know. But yeah, going 101 in a 55 generally not preferred for the rest of us that are out there.
And if you're barely drafted and people didn't want to touch you, you finally get drafted, you get a shot. And now this is what you're doing when you get your shot.
Correct. Yeah, there's already there's a cloud above it right now. I was reading PFT maybe a week ago, just kind of the difficulty, the decisions they have to make. They might have there's no chance that they have 4 QBs on the 53-man by the time it's all done. But that's kind of who are they going to keep? Whether it's Flacco, it's Pickett, it is, of course, Shedeur Sanders. Completely blank. I mean, Deshaun's still in the mix, although he's offering nothing. And I forget who the 5th one is, and it'll probably be obvious as soon as I remember it at a different time. But yeah, so when there's already kind of this cloud around waiting for the draft and, I'm doing nothing but ready to work, any sort of distraction like this is kind of obnoxious. So just choose differently. I think that's cool, and he's got some chill time. Hopefully he chooses the right way and heads into camp and everyone forgets about it. At least he didn't use he didn't have an emergency with his dog. So there's that, I suppose. But yeah, chill it out. Let's cool car, fast car. It's tough to keep that pedal off the floor. I understand, but yeah, choose differently. He'll be fine, no doubt about that.
Number 3.
Last one here, real quick. Do you remember the name Jonathan Taves?
Very familiar, yes.
Yeah, he played for the Blackhawks, for those who don't know.
Didn't he
for a long time?
He had some was it a respiratory thing or something that basically forced him out, but he wants to make a comeback, right?
Well, he's done more than make a comeback. He has signed with the Winnipeg Jets. So there you go, staying in the Central Division.
Of course, career resurgence.
Yeah, and which, by the way...
Comeback. Do they have a Comeback Player of the Year award in the NHL?
they may, I'm not sure.
They might have to start one after what Taves is going to do to us.
I'm not sure I would have signed off on the Wild going after him just for age purposes. I've been consistent on that. But it does, even though it's still another center that's off the board that the Wild can't go after. So I don't know if I would have been thrilled if they would have done it. But nonetheless, another center gets signed, and that market dries up more and more in free agency.
Well, welcome back, Jonathan. From a health standpoint, sounds like everything's good to go for him. Aging superstar as he is. Cup cred, of course, with the Chicago Blackhawks. That's News to Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. Feeling the felt, poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. Live racing season in play as well. First place to go for you. Well, you can just drive right down to Shakopee and have a blast because the people are awesome and everything's in play down at Canterbury. But check the website, canterburypark.com. Dave Sinykin around because News Nugget of the Morning, celebrating greatness. It's not just Buxton locally, but what the Pacers were able to do last night, staving off elimination, forcing a Game 7 in the NBA. We'll chat with Cinny in the zone, Packer preview. We'll stay away from the green and gold. We'll stick to hoops next on The Fan.
Get ready to rock. Incubus is bringing their Morning View and the Hits Tour to Treasure Island Amphitheater Saturday, July 5th. Experience the magic of their double platinum album and smash hits like Drive and Wish You Were Here live. Don't miss this epic night. Get all the details, ticasino.com.
Nordo in for PA, joining me now. Late, worst clock management potentially in the history of the medium of radio, that being 9 to noon. So I apologize, but good morning, Mr. Sinykin. I was excited watching the game last night. I'm like, I got to hear Cinny's thoughts on this, and I'm expecting SGA and Jalen Williams and Chet, the triumvirate in Oklahoma City. We're going to be hoisting the trophy. But instead, you got TJ McConnell with 4 steals, Halliburton hitting those early triples, Nemhard, depth, bench scoring galore. We have a Game 7. You got something to talk about tomorrow in the zone, Sinykin.
I do, and I'm bitter because I have a wedding Sunday night, of all things. I'm not happy that we finally have a Game 7. I've been waiting 9 years, and I'll either have to DVR it and stay away from my phone, or, things get tight second half, I might plant myself and watch it on my phone. But, yeah, I'm with you. I've been a Pacers believer throughout these playoffs, but I thought it was over heading into last night. I thought the Thunder would hoist the crown, and obviously Indiana proved, man, they have a team full of heart and a whole lot of good players. And Nordo, when I've gone back to this so many times watching these guys, that Wolves game where their whole starting lineup missed the game and they beat the Wolves and we thought it was the worst loss ever, I think it was a prelude to show what this team is. It's got 10 guys that can play together, and that might be the new blueprint now. Is not about being top heavy. It's about being deep and having 8 or 9 or 10 guys you believe in. And that team, they believe in each other, and they are really fun to watch.
Yeah, they are. And, throughout this, really the focus, and in some ways rightly so, Halliburton, right? And for all the games where he'll drop 30 on you and he'll fill up the box score and he'll lead that team emotionally and the massive shots, all the game winners, et cetera. Kind of the focus was he going to be hobbled Halliburton with that calf? But in the end, and he provided moments, most certainly, but it was that long list of the Obi Toppins of the world, McConnell. Mathurin actually offered nothing last night, but it didn't matter. A night where Miles Turner just couldn't find a shot. But the depth of that team in totality, guys picking each other up, the collective unit in Indy is something you said you've been a believer. I've actually been underplaying that, and I've been dead wrong about it. They've been surprising me every step of the way. It's really been so impressive and beautiful to watch after the sting of losing the way we did in 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's a team, I'm a Bucks fan too, and they've knocked the Bucks out, the last 3 years, I think. So I've had a chance to watch them in the postseason now, probably more closely than most around here. And there was always that team like, how can this team beat my team, But it's a great blueprint of a really good coach, and they've built a roster that plays really well together. And you said it, Halliburton's hobbled. He plays like 23 minutes, takes him a while to get going. Once he did, he looked like prime Halliburton. But as you said, Turner doesn't give you much. Mathurin gives you nothing. And they still were up 30 points after 3 quarters because this night it was Obi Toppin, as you said, and Nembhard off the bench being like their own Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And, TJ McConnell, who, it's funny, my daughter who's 20, and, she loves basketball. She doesn't watch a ton of it. But whenever she happens to see TJ McConnell play, this has been for the last few years, she's always, I hate that guy. I can't stand him. She hates the little pesky white guard that comes in and just gets under your skin and does all the little things. And that's been the kind of player he's been. And he's so valuable. I mean, he has a stat line that no bench player has ever produced in the finals when you combine points, rebounds, and assists. He's at a number no one's ever done. And that doesn't even take into account the steals. As you mentioned, he had 4 in Game 5. You can't even inbound the ball if he's around. He's one of those guys that's going to put his arm on it. And players like that in finals and late playoff season are invaluable. And he has been really the star of this finals series for me. Of course, the question is going to be, he's a role player. And now the role players go on the road and have to win a Game 7. Yes, they won Game 1. We know they can win there. But the role players tend to not be quite as dominant on the road. They're going to have to be. Thunder were embarrassed. They're going to come out breathing fire, but they're also going to feel a whole lot of pressure. For a series that didn't have a whole lot of juice heading into small markets, a couple teams that had never been here before, they've given us a really entertaining, unpredictable 7-game series, and I wouldn't at all be surprised if Game 7 follows that script and takes the unpredictable path to a Pacers title.
Yeah, the unpredictability, that's the defining aspect of this now. And as you mentioned it, and it's going to be unpredictable on Sunday as well. But I just remember Game 3 of the Wolves series, and maybe I'm just dumb and a rube and I need to stop punishing myself as a fan for it. But I look back and you just absolutely crush OKC the way you did, and you feel like you're back in the mix, and then you gave them everything you had, and Dagnall finds a way to get out with the 2-point victory in Game 4. That's the thing about this one, Cindy, is OKC can just roll home. They took their ball. They went home late third period. It ain't going to work tonight. But Game 7, they could just run back down there, and they could hold the Pacers to 40%. They could limit them from threes. Shea could find contact and shoot 17 free throws. And then it just looks like it maybe was supposed to the whole time,
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't at all be surprising if that's how it plays out. I don't think it's going to, but yeah, would anybody be shocked if they go in and win that game 111-84? Probably not. But man, the way this went down, this wasn't a Game 3. This wasn't like the Wolves series where, Minnesota comes home down 2-0 and they rise up. This is a Game 6 where the trophy's in the house. Like, it's there for you if you can win this game. And they were only competitive for 12 and a half minutes. And then the Pacers took their hearts and took them out of it, and they weren't even competitive. So I think it's hard for me to believe that a couple days later they're just going to throw that, the old cliche, we're going to throw that in the garbage, not even watch the film, we're going to move on, it's a new game. It's in the back of their heads that they were the expected team. They are still major favorites in Game 7. They were huge favorites to start the series. Pacers don't give a crap about that, and the Thunder know that if they blow this game, it's going to be talked about now for a long, long time. So, they have a coach that's never been there. They've got an MVP that's never been there. They got one guy in Alex Caruso that knows what it's like to play in a pressure-packed game like this. And not that Indiana has a whole lot on their end. They have Siakam, who won a title with the Raptors. But I trust that coach, that staff, and these players to come into OKC and maybe deliver a performance that not too many people expect.
Last thing for you, whether it's in the zone, but moving forward, just Wolves conversation, the Durant dilemma, and what's happening. You may have heard, if you didn't, all good, podcastable, but Finch with PA earlier this week, just very adamant about the idea of both Julius Randle and Naz Reid re-upping and getting back to the nest here with the Wolves in 2025. Just anything hit you in terms of just an interesting 2-week period ahead for Tim Connolly and the Howl?
Yeah, very much so. You got the draft next week. You've got 2 picks. We thought heading into the year, you may have no picks, but suddenly you've got 17 and 31. Will they use those picks? Will they trade one or both before next Thursday? Will Durant be in the mix, even though he has no interest supposedly in playing up here in Minnesota? I wouldn't be at all surprised if Naz and Randle both opt in. I think Randle's a slam dunk. He's not getting $30 million anywhere else, I don't believe. And I think they'll work something out with Naz long term. Does Randle stay on this team through next season? That's certainly a question mark if he might be a movable piece once he signs. But yeah, this is a really big 2 weeks, right in the middle of the old summer abyss. We love it. It should take us through the 4th of July holiday with free agency following hot on the heels of the draft. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what Connolly and the front office does. Once this Durant thing is over, whether he's here or somewhere else, we can look at what this team needs most. And what Trent and I have talked about for weeks, it's no secret, finding a long-term solution at point guard, whether that's Dillingham and thinking he's ready, or bridging a few years and finding a guy that can complement Ant. To me, that's the priority of this offseason. You can't count on Conley to give you 30-plus minutes. Who is that point guard that can lead this team? I think that's going to be what I'll be watching most closely over these next couple weeks, if they find that guy, or if these believe that they have a way to find that guy.
You're the best. Looking forward to hearing you mañana with In the Zone. And enjoy the wedding on Sunday. Find a good spot, maybe some stemware that can hold up the phone so you can enjoy the festivities, supporting family and the beauty of a union, but also Game 7, okay?
Gotcha. I got that covered. Thanks, buddy. Anytime.
All right, thank you. That's Dave Sinykin. You hear him Packer preview, of course, during football season at TC Head Cheese via X. But In the Zone, Saturday mornings, 8 to 10. Dave Sinykin, Double T, Trent Tucker. Dan Hayes covers the Minnesota Twins for The Athletic. Dan Hayes, MLB via X. He joins me next.